Hi, I'm Patric Palm, CEO and founder of Favro, and this is the Learn from Leaders podcast. The background to this show is that Favro customers are some of the most innovative companies in the world. Enterprises wanting to be more agile, software as a service companies scaling fast, and game developers and publishers wanting to master live ops. So we get to know some truly inspiring leaders in product development, marketing, operations, sales, executive management. And what we do here is that we interview them about leadership so we can all learn from them. Let's go.
And we are live with Adrian. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
All right, I'm super happy to have you. And we are going to talk about team empowerment. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. But I think not everyone knows you and the company. So maybe you can just give a little bit of the story. How you got to where you are today.
Okay, yes. So I'm Adrian. I'm one of 5 founders of Black Forest Games. We are a game development studio located in Germany, very close to the French border. So we are close to Strasbourg, European Hauptstadt, capital. So actually that's why we have a quite international team with I think third of the people French, third German, and third others. So we are currently around 110 people. We are 100 now. We are 10 years old. So actually we started 2012 with a team that worked together even longer. So from a company called Spellbound, it's one of the first German game development studios. So the most successful game back then was Desperados, which is a real-time strategy game, which is maybe that's something where some people know. And then in 2011, we had a big contract that was cancelled, so the studio went down. I myself have just joined the year before because I was working for Electronic Arts before in Germany and was just ready to join Spellbound when some months later we had to shut down. And then 5 of the key managers, we sat together, said, okay, what do we do next? We had a team of 35 people who had families and stuff. So we said, okay, let's start an own company. We are located at the corner of the Black Forest, so we had the crazy idea to call us Black Forest Games. But we also had this BFG in mind, big fucking gun from Doom, so there was some kind of a pun intended. And it was just the time of indie hype. Steam was great platform to go into where they just opened up so everyone could publish, and Kickstarter was coming up. So we said, hey, let's do a Kickstarter, make big money and be rich. Yeah. So we started with the first Kickstarter ever made in Germany with Project Jana. It's about Jana Sisters. Jana Sisters is a very old IP from the C64 area. And we had the IP because it was a Spellbound IP. Yes, and then we did a Kickstarter. It was successful. We did all the stuff with a greenlight process. We just wanted to release on Steam, and then they said, "Oh wait, we implement the Steam greenlight process." Back then, we went through that. We released the game. It was quite successful. Then we did another game. We went early access, all this stuff. But the goal always was to go a little bit bigger. And then 2012, we sold the company to THQ Nordic, so that we had actually the opportunity to go into bigger games. And the first title we completely developed under THQ Nordic, now Embracer, so we are all Swedish, was the remake of Destroy Humans. And we just released the second remake, Destroy Humans 2, which you see some pictures in the background. And that for me is some kind of circle, because when I worked at EA, that was just when John Riccitiello was CEO, and he bought Pandemic and closed the studio, and Destroy Humans was developed by Pandemic, and now we made the remake. So at the end, life is a circle. Yeah. And now I'm here and eager to talk to you.
It's so interesting. I mean, we could get into the whole like circle of what happens in the game industry, but but the reflection I'm making is actually this. It's interesting that we are in an industry where you can be relatively young. I would like to believe that both you and I are not too old, but you're still a veteran, right?
Yes.
It's one of the few industries where you can you can be a veteran without actually having to be
very old.
that old. So I think that is super cool. Before we go into talking about team empowerment, I would like to ask you a little bit about what you said about the acquisition there by Embracer, because obviously today Embracer is one of the most influential companies in the game industry. I mean, there's a lot of if I look at your fellow companies in their portfolio, I mean, it's pretty impressive, right? And I'm not saying that because I'm Swedish and it's a Swedish company, and I'm saying that because it's a relatively new phenomenon. I mean, if we go back, the typical acquirer would be someone like Electronic Arts, like what happened with Pandemic, and now we have these new companies who are doing big things in our industry, and Embrace is probably like the best example of someone who's able to create a portfolio of very, very interesting companies and making something really good out of it. My question would be how would you describe like the change going from being independent to being part of a family, and like what was good with this, and maybe if you can share something that you think was maybe less good, if you dare.
Okay. Yes, so actually we were the first studio of this big acquisition run. So back then, THQ Nordic, we had the THQ Nordic GmbH in Vienna, and the mother company THQ Nordic in Karlstad. And we knew THQ Nordic already for a while, so the Vienna people from back in times, even from Spellbound times. And as Black Forest Games, one of our strategy to survive, and it was really a survival mode, was to have a pillar where we self-publish games. We also were trying to pitch for publisher games, and also we had the part where we're doing non-games business. And we had all this situation where at the end, every time when the resources are tight, and they were always tight, our own game we wanted to self-publish was at last in the order when it comes to sharing resources. So we always try to, of course, do your contract work, and that's the main stuff is when it's non-game stuff where you do we did assets for big simulations and stuff like that. We even had a driving school simulator we were doing. And that's not what we wanted to do. And that's the big part when it came to the acquisition, where we completely could get rid of all these non-gaming projects. So we finally could focus on gaming, and then finally on one project. Really, everyone in the studio, each developer could do gaming, and that was the big advantage. And of course, you have this strong financial background, which just gives you security, gives you the power and the possibilities to try out things, to make the step up, to hire maybe the specialists you need to get better in your quality. That was definitely the biggest part. And the second part is that with a background of the name of THQ Nordic, and now with the big name Embracer, which is actually, I think, now the biggest European gaming company by whatever matrix, but you will find one where it's biggest. That gives you the opportunity to hire great people. Yeah, you would never had the chance to get someone to Black Forest Game to Stad. Yeah, we are sitting very small town and in southwest of Germany. I don't know, let's go to Ubisoft Berlin or whatever. So that was the other big advantage. we are talking about things that might not be that okay, there's not that much, because we really have a great independence here. We creative-wise and running the studio, we still have all the freedom we had before, and that's not only because of the great cooperation with THQ Nordic Vienna, but it's also because that's the strategy of Embracer, saying, okay, we really want to have these founders running the studios because we believe in them. The one thing where we sometimes talk with my partner here, my other managing director, when back then in BFG times we were running everywhere in Europe, trying to sell our games in US, GDC, E3, wherever. Going there, you're pitching, you had this tension there, this excitement when you have to think, no, that could be something, and go into it. And that's something you're missing somehow, because we are now planned for the next year. We know what to do. We have to get the project set, and you're missing somehow this excitement, this crazy things, But of course, you forget all the disappointments you had when finally you get no, sorry.
All right, super. So let's get a little bit into the topic of today. Empowering teams. And I think the first question that is important then is the big why. Why is it important? So for you as a CEO, I mean, why do you think empowering teams is an important objective? What kind of business value does it create for you?
I think there's several key factors. One is when you grow a studio, you start small, all the communication goes well, and you can lead people. We were 5 people in different disciplines, and everything was running through us. Now we are 110 people, and you can't control anymore what you have. So you need to have a way still to make the studio function. And empowerment helps. The other thing is you have all these great people, and you pay a lot of money to get them, you pay a lot of money to keep them, and they have all this talent, the skills, the experience, And if you still go by, okay, I tell you what to do, and it's all top down, why do you need those skilled and experienced people? No, you would like to raise this treasure they have, and empowerment, giving them the opportunity to make decisions, to be creative, that's important. And that's also part of keeping people is to create an interesting work environment, especially in an industry where it's about being creative and everyone wants to be creative. That's why they're here. And you should give them the space to be creative. And that's empowerment. Empower you to make your decisions, to try things out. And I believe that's very important to make the job interesting and attractive and keep people here. And last but not least, it's really about taking off some workload just from the management team and the leads, because you can't do anything anymore yourself. So that's the factors where we say, okay, that's why we want to go this empowerment direction.
So there's a couple of things there you said that I would like to ask a follow-up question on. So, for example, when you were talking about management, you said, offload some of the responsibility. So, I mean, in practice, it means that the teams will have more responsibility for the management of work, right?
Exactly.
So that means two questions I have. One is, how have you worked with the changing role of management? How did the role of management change? In your company, and has it been hard? But also the other question is that sometimes with teams suddenly getting this, they can't say, oh, it's the boss. It's like, well, you're responsible. Can you just share a little bit of your experiences, both with the team getting this bigger managerial responsibility, but also the manager maybe needing to adapt to a little bit of a different leadership style?
So we started with this. I think 3 years ago, we were really pushing for this. We built this middle management level, and we are still working on it. So we are far from being done. It's, as you said, it's on the management level, to let go, because we have this great people also in the founders and the management level, and they're great in the area. We probably have one of the best coders in Europe here as one of the founders and as our executive tech director. And then you need to let go. You need to be happy with 80%. You need to be happy with something where you might think, okay, I would have made it different. And that's a big step in the mindset. It's a development in the mindset. We talk a lot. We had external trainers. We had workshops. We try to train us. To let go. And on the team side, this is something I said it's responsibility, because the first step is to understand what do we mean with empowerment, and it's very hard to get the common understanding of it. For us, empowerment means that you take responsibility, that you are one now, you're two, to make this happen. And we believe it only can work if we are completely transparent, so much more communication than before, sharing info, even telling, okay, what you intend to do, so that you give a feeling of comfort to your leads, because they want to give you a response, but you're nervous, okay, what they're doing now. And especially in this complex game development part where it's easy that one team is going in that direction, the other team is that direction, and you just realize 4 weeks later, and the person in charge, the director, is sitting there empowering the people, but don't get any idea what they're doing. So it is also lots about training, talking. That's a lot about forcing people to communicate, to what we call over-communicate. So, and that's what we are working on, and we always face big challenges where sometimes people just take empowerment as an excuse, hiding their work, saying, okay, but I'm empowered, so I just do my thing. That's not what we mean with empowerment. You still have to share, you still have to get input from others. Of course, you're empowered to make a decision, but you can't shut off other voices. That's not the plan.
It sounds like, your journey here has been very real. It's been some things that might have been very beneficial and good, and then it sounds like you also, you still have some tough things that you're working through, right? Which makes this conversation very, very interesting, and I think there's a lot of other leaders that are embarking on the same journey. Are there any kind of takeaways, any learnings that you've done that you can share? Maybe things where you can share that, okay, well, this is probably something I would have done a little bit differently, or basically any kind of learning.
So definitely. We are now doing lots of workshops with the teams, bringing different groups together. We're talking with the leads, we're talking with directors, we're talking with mixed groups, we're talking with feature teams. And definitely that's something I would do earlier next time. I put this at the beginning where really, okay, what is empowerment? What do we understand about empowerment? What is not empowerment? Just last week we had the session with all the leads where we gone through, okay, what is the definition of empowerment on our side? What is not empowerment? What are the big mistakes? We're also talking about the challenges, because staying there and talking empowerment, like, okay, that's the great thing we are doing and it will work out. And people have their own ideas. They think, okay, now they come up with another crazy idea, or it will never work out, or that's not, I don't feel empowered. So we are now very open, honest, talking about we are on a journey, like you said. We are not there yet, but that's the goal, and that's why we're doing it. And that's something I really would do much earlier, even at the beginning, and get everyone on board before you even start talking about empowerment.
Do you have an example of an everyday practice that you changed that was a tough one, or a controversial one, or something that was a big deal in your organization?
Yeah. So let's go for an example. Our art director, who is thinking in some areas also extremely great, and he's a perfectionist, and actually we forced him not to attend the planning meetings. Yeah? Said, okay, now we change completely. We do work in sprints. Yeah. And at the beginning of the sprint, we do the planning meeting. We completely loaded this up to the middle management. And he was always wanting to join there. And I really forced him not to join this meeting. Yeah. And it was a big challenge for him. And it also was a complete new experience for the middle management. And it took a while until they really sorted it out and actually made their own way of planning. Yeah. Oh, that's an example. Yeah. But sometimes you really have to do this, forcing someone to do this and risking, okay, he is not happy, he might not be happy with some results. And mistakes happened and things did happen that didn't went so well. Yeah. But the overall experience is a good one.
Cool. And finally, if you can give an example of something you would like to change. I mean, what was like maybe when your team is listening now, they're going to be like, okay, now we know what's coming. But I mean, what is the next thing coming? What is like your next initiative, to drive this further?
We will do an offsite meeting with the leads. 2 days. They will go into the woods. Actually, it will be a nice hotel, yeah, and it will be snow probably because it's in 4 weeks, not as much as in Sweden. And really let them work out ideas how to change or what they would like to change in the studio. Not only in their team saying, okay, maybe that's how we work together, how we define our roles, yeah, and that will be a meeting without the top management. And that's will be a very interesting experience for everyone, I think.
I agree. That sounds really cool. And I mean, congrats on having, firstly being humble about the fact that this is a road, right? And I think that's one of the keys to having a chance at being successful at this. But it also seems like you already come a far way.
Thanks.
And I mean, the final thing I would like to ask is, I'm a bit of an evangelist, of course, of the fact that the tools that you're using are also going to have an influence on the culture you're getting. If you're picking a tool which is all about centralization, well, you're going to create a gravitation towards centralization. If you're using a tool like Favro, which is all about decentralization, you're going to get team autonomy and those kind of things. But I don't want you to go into like Favro pitch mode here in the thing, but it would be just interesting to just hear some of your thoughts around how, because obviously we are in a world now where a lot of the work is maybe actually not happening at the desk or around the water cooler, is actually happening online, right? So what was your perspective on the influence of the tools you use for the culture you create?
So in the middle of our culture is this empowerment stuff, and we have this pillars. We said, okay, pillar one is responsibility. Another pillar is disagree and commit. Yeah. And the third pillar is transparency. And transparency is a very key thing to build this trust. Yeah? And you need a tool to build this transparency. Of course, you have to communicate, but it's also about, making what happens transparent. And that's for us, that's the project management tool, which is Favro. Yeah. And that without this complete transparency, without the strong tool that gives you, or not gives you, that gives everyone the possibility to have an update, to share thoughts, to work together. This whole empowerment thing wouldn't work at all. Then you would need to get back to a top down. I tell you what to do. You will get to me, get approval, and you move on. Yeah, and that's this tool. For me, if I were a transparency tool, is just key to make this happen.
That's music to my ears. I might use that as a tagline. Hey, Adrian, this has been a really good conversation. I think there are many takeaways here for not only, people starting a game studio now, but also people who've been running, a game studio for a long time or running their fourth or fifth game studio. This is really good stuff for both junior and senior. I'm really grateful that you chose to join me today here.
It was great talking to you. Thanks for the invitation, really.
All right, super. Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening.
See you.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, you know what to do. Share it in your social media so more people can take part and learn. And one more thing, check out Favro Academy on favro.com for many more learnings. Thanks for tuning in.